Hello and welcome to In Stitches. Today on the bench here I have a machine from a charity shop, and I do a bit of work for some of the charity shops around the area, and they've asked me to have a look at this machine because it's not quite working the way it should. It is a Singer 6268, and I was going to show you what it was doing. I'm getting my finger chewed here at the moment and clawed by the new helper, who's probably not going to be much of a helper. Helper in quotes. Say hello to little Alice. Little Alice. New addition to the family. And I suspect she might be more of a hindrance than a help. Or a supervisor, in fact. So yeah, it's her first official YouTube video with a sewing machine involved. She's had an introduction video, but that's about it. And she's getting in quite a playful mood at the moment. So anyway, I'll show you what's going on with this machine here. If I find the presser foot. Turn the power on. Now, we don't see many of these machines in New Zealand. I haven't seen one of these, maybe even ever. I've seen similar machines, but these are an American, they're an American-made machine. And yeah, so I've not actually seen one exactly like this. The thing with it, it's pretty similar to other Singers of the era. But anyway, I'll show you quickly what it's doing, or not doing properly. Nice and easy to thread, these ones. You'll notice a few scratches and bits and pieces on my hand. That's Alice. She's getting feisty, and she's starting to get into a pretty enthusiastic play style, let's put it that way. And I tend to just wind her up a little bit as well. So she is currently playing with my arm. So a little bit distracting. So those of you who are, familiar with my channel, you would have seen, probably if you've seen some of my older videos, or older than 2 years anyway, you would remember Molly, the last supervisor, who she passed on a couple of years ago. And yeah, she's been replaced. Alice has got big boots to fill. But I'm sure she'll make quite a good In Stitches mascot, albeit a little bit mischievous. Anyway, so we're set to straight stitch here. Get you a better view here. Right, Alice, I think you need to watch your little nose. No. Stitch is just fine. Stitch length is fine. We've got stitch length dial here, and we've got stitch width dial right here. Now, with the lights out, that's the default setting. If I hit the button in the dial here, the light comes on, which means it's outside of its default setting, and I can set the stitch length. So that's maximum stitch length right now. And I can take that down to a short stitch length there, or a long stitch length. That's working. What's not working properly is if I'm on the longer stitch length here, and if I go to reverse, so push the button here, holds it in reverse, it's not reversing fully, just very small stitches. If I take it back out of reverse, okay, stitching fine there. Let's leave it on the longer stitch length, put it into reverse again. See, if I go fast, it actually does reverse. But if I just go slowly, it seems to, it doesn't reverse as this the stitch length in reverse is shorter the slower you go, put it that way. The faster you go, the longer the stitch length in reverse, so something is not right. If we go to try and do a stretch type stitch, for instance, you know, like the, what do you call that, fishbone or something, that one there, that one. It's feeding forward, it's not really doing the reverse stitching. It's kind of just stopping. So that's pretty much what it's come in for. So that should be like, so that wishbone type stitching here. And you can see that it's this row here. It's not really doing the reversing at all. Maybe if I choose the likes of these are the squarish type stitch there. Alice just wants to curl up on my knee at the moment. So she's not very happy about being moved. Yes. The machine seems to be stitching fine. Not sure that the needle positioning is working properly. But it's supposed to be this stitch here. That stitch. You can see that it's not doing the reversing. So that's today's mission, is to find out what's going on there. The tension's not very good either, but we'll have a wee look at the machine and see whether we can sort out that issue. Now this is the Wonder bobbin, I think they called this mechanism. So it's in place bobbin winding. So I just normally start this process by removing the plate, throat plate, and the bobbin case. So the bobbin case, you just hold this little latch back. There's a little latch just here, spring loaded. Now that, oh yeah, that folds back. You've got this flat bed here which pops down, and this here that folds forward, you know, to give you your free arm. It's pretty handy. And oh, look at that. I think I have just found the problem there. This feed dog is loose. Well, the whole carrier's loose. Not the feed dog itself, but the whole carrier. So that might explain why it's not reversing. So that needs to be addressed. I think we can probably get to that fairly easily just by whipping the bottom off this machine. So I'll just lie it over on its back here. $8mm, or actually that could be Imperial, couldn't it, being an American machine. So we'll just remove that nut there. There's another one just here, looks like that one. Says to use no tools, no user serviceable parts. And it's telling the technician to disconnect the electrical plug before removing the cover for service. Yep, because there are electrical goings on under here. Here we go. Yeah, definitely live connections up around this area here. So you definitely want to remove the power. If I move that feed dog, it's almost like there's something going on in this area here where it's not Not a happy camper. It's actually this. What's going on there? Yeah, I might have to investigate that a little bit further. It's a bit difficult to see there. I'll see if I can remove some of this here and get a better look at what's going on there. I've just got the machine sitting up on its end here because to get into this area here, I think probably the easiest way, I can see there's a part potentially that's worn. I just want to get in there for a clear shot, if you like, so I can show you what's going on in there as well. So I'm tempted to remove this shaft. This machine's got one of these gears here, you know, these feed gears, absolutely renowned for breaking. Brittle, the plastic goes brittle and these things strip out. Now, just to make things easier to retime when I put this back together, you'll notice if I just turn the hand wheel a little bit there, you'll see there's a little tab on this black metal ring here, and that is to line up with this piece here, this raised section here, that when the hook is coming in behind the needle. So at the hook timing time, you know, when the needles, when the hooks come around just behind the needle, this here, that little tab should line up with this. So just sort of taking note of that, you know, for when I go and put this back together. See that there? Right at that time there where they mate like that is your feed timing. I think that's all that really needs to be noted. Feed timing. And yeah, I think the rest can just come out, really. That this shaft here, the hook timing, you know, might need to be upset here, because to withdraw the shaft, let's have a look. Yeah, I think the shaft has got to come, well, that's where that's, just having a look at this actuator here. Yeah, see, there's a whole lot of play. It's this here. Yeah, look at that play in there. Yeah, that shouldn't be loose like that. I don't think you should be able to move that without moving the feed dog. You know, this is, or I would say, probably slogged out. So it might be difficult to replace, potentially, but let's see if we can get in here and have a close look. The plan is to remove the shaft out this way, and therefore, you know, dropping these bits and pieces out of the system. But this, to get the shaft out, we'd probably need to remove this here. So probably start by removing or loosening that screw there, just hoping that sometimes the screws can damage the shafts and it makes them very difficult to get out. Let's just hope that that hasn't happened. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be budging there. I'm just going to try and give it a bit of persuasion. Just remove that screw completely. Just need to be aware, you know, not to damage the shaft as well. I'm concerned that the screw here has indented the shaft and potentially make it difficult to get out. Or do I take this whole carrier system off. I mean, that could be something. Okay, plan is to remove this block here. Maybe will allow me to bring this section out, or at least get access to it. I'm just using a 732 spanner there. Just to see, I might have to loosen that there. Let's see how we go. It's quite a neat machine actually. It's got these cartridges that plug in, and it does all sorts of different pattern stitches. I'll show you a bit later on. And there's a little like embroidery type attachment that goes with it as well. Little embroidery unit. I'm not sure whether we'll be able to resurrect it, but we'll give it a go. That come off? I might just loosen this here, take that off. Oh, that's a, what do I need to get in there? Oh, screw. Might have to take, starting to have to look into taking more bits off here. See if I can get to that screw. I'm just going to try and loosen this screw without taking everything off, which I don't think I'll be able to. Oh yep, there we go. I have actually managed to loosen that, and that should allow us to pull this here out. What do you reckon, Alice? Hey? You're going to help? I'm not sure if that's considered helping. Okay, that eccentric screw there might just allow us to get a bit more. There's probably, yeah, there's other linkages and whatnot attached here. This is the main bearing holder that I'm taking out here. Let's take this off. Is that going to come off? No. Oh, is it? I just need to get in far enough just to get a really good look at what's going on. That might help. By the way, some of you might have noticed that I've been using a torch. I've been using these since the 1980s, and they are an American branded, so I don't think they're made in America anymore, but this Pelican Mighty Light, it's a really good torch. It gets right in without sort of splaying light everywhere, so it's a lot better than using a cell phone. But these have, I would say, deteriorated in quality since not being made in America. I still highly rate them. I can't really do without them. They're brilliant, but one caveat is that you've got to be careful if you do buy one of these, that they've got a seal here, this little rubber seal, and I think this rubber seal here, I think that that original seal is too tight. And because I noticed when I got another one of these, you turn them on by twisting the top here and turn it off like so. I found the last one I had was really, really tight. And eventually, or when I say eventually, not long after I started using it, it snapped off. So, you know, this part here just snapped. And able to compare these two. Yeah, the threaded part just snapped right off. And it was, I just think that these are really thin now, because I've never had one of these break, ever. And I sent it back to the supplier, to my supplier, and they apparently sent it off to their supplier, and they wouldn't provide it a warranty on it, because they said that it had been abused. And so basically they told me that I'd been too rough with it, and I'm really careful with my tools. They said it had been too rough with it, and they weren't going to cover it under warranty. Just a little thing to note. And so be really careful, because they're as fragile as now. Just be aware of that. I thought I'd let you know, just in case you're wondering what torch I use, or flashlight, I think you call them in the States. This is not far from coming off, but just going to see if, I think this part here, where it meets here, not sure if you can see that easily, this part here, I think that is slogged out. That is a plastic part. If I just stop that from turning, so that when I move this here, that's turning this shaft down in here, and that locates into this plastic part here. And I think that plastic part is worn. So whatever's locating up into the plastic part is just moving around in there when it shouldn't be. So plastic part is done for, I would say. It's something that could possibly be fixed by removing this plastic part and designing, you know, a 3D print for it. It's a lot of work for a machine like this, and so I think I'm probably going to call it at that point. If it was something that could be removed and replaced, I would probably pursue it, just out of interest of the machine, really. I mean, normally I wouldn't, you know, spend too much time on a machine that can be easily replaced with something, you know, modern and does all the whiz-bang bits and pieces that this machine does. But considering that it can't easily be replaced, I think I'll just flag it, which is a bit disappointing. I don't really like doing videos that get nowhere as such, but I guess from time to time it's just one of those things, and it comes with a territory, actually. You know, this is part of my job, although this is a machine for a charity, and you know, we wouldn't want to go spending too much time or money on it necessarily. It's just one of those things that that can happen. And if it was a customer's machine, you know, I'd be going back to the customer and letting them know that the part's not available, and that to reproduce the part would be a substantial cost, you know, and time. It's all well and good to you know, talk about 3D printing, but what a lot of people don't realise is that the 3D printing itself is actually printing the part is easy. If you've got a 3D printer, it's no problem. It's actually designing the part is the hard part, time consuming, especially when they're intricate parts. That is a real pity. Well, I spent a bit of time actually off camera just seeing if I could get the part out, and I did manage to extract it. It's yeah, this machine's, you know, there's a bit going on in here. And so I unscrewed this here, removed that, or I just pushed that to the side. This here sort of just floats around. And I just wanted to see what was up really with this part. So what I did is, you can see there's a bearing here and a bearing here, or a bushing, and basically there's a couple of mounts. These here, that one, they basically just pop over there like that, and you know, the fastening screw goes into the machine, you know, the body of the machine there, and that clamps the bearing in. And two of those I loosened. I took this one out and I loosened the other one, and I disconnected this here. That's the reversing connection rod here, connected to this here, the little actuator. And yep, there's definitely worn for sure. You can see that movement there. Now this, I had a close look, and there's a flat surface on this. If we take this out, I can actually, there's a flat surface there, you can see coming out there now. See, we've got all this movement here. That was causing all that slack in the system. Doesn't seem like much there, but you know, when you put all the linkages in, and it turns out to be quite a bit of movement there after everything sort of translates through the linkages to that feed dog. That should be, I mean, especially there, right? It's a lot of movement. And I thought, well, let's take that off. It's actually splined as well. You can see the splines there. So the splines are all worn. This is plastic, this here. The splines are worn. So I think what's happened is the splines have worn out or loosened in the plastic here. And then that sort of worked away at the flat spot as well. And the flat spot is no longer all that flat. I thought, oh, it'd be really awesome to get this machine going. And, you know, my thought with this was, I mean, this part's no longer available. So I thought, well, why not clean all this up, clean in here, and maybe use epoxy glue and just glue that on. It's permanent. It's the type of thing that would, you know, if this failed in some other way, let's say, you know, this here slogged out, this slot here slogged out, this would be glued onto the shaft. It wouldn't be replaceable even if you could get a part. I mean, you know, it would render that a permanent fixture, if you know what I mean, after epoxy gluing this in. And yeah, okay, so you probably could, you know, if this failed and you needed to get it off, you could, you know, destroy the part, the plastic part, and, you know, remove the epoxy off here and clean the shaft back up. I'm sure that could be done. Maybe if you came across a good one of these out of a you know, a scrapped machine or something like that. So there's possibilities, but I thought, yeah, epoxy glue that up, and that way I could demonstrate the machine and show you the fancy little embroidery attachment and go through the machine and, you know, and make a nice complete video, or more complete anyway. And then I thought, well, you know, what else needs to be done? And if we have a look, let's get some light on here. We've got this gear, that brownie coloured one, just by my little finger there. That is deteriorating, and it's not uncommon for those to deteriorate. That's quite sort of crumbly plastic material, That's no problem. I've got these in stock. They still produce these gears here. Singer still sell them. And, you know, they exist in a lot of different models, these gears here. So that's replaceable. You know, and I thought, well, what's involved in that? Okay, so removing the bottom shaft. So I thought, well, you know, possibly remove this bearing shell here. There's another one. Oh, I removed this one here already. And that whole shaft, you know, I could remove and replace that gear and then just put it together and retime everything. Not too much of a hassle. But then I had a close look at this actuator here, and I can see, hopefully you can see it, but you can see there that there's cracks forming in this little plastic actuator. You know, that part is definitely not available any longer. And yes, you could recover one from another machine, but as I say, these machines are not very common here. And, you know, the chance of me coming across spare parts from another donor machine are very slim. And I just thought that, you know, at some stage, I would say fairly soon, that's just going to fail. It's going to crack right through, and that's just going to fall apart. And that's the little actuator that, you know, drives this piece here for the reversing system here. So when, you know, after seeing that there, I've put it in the not worth repairing category, unfortunately. You know, this machine's not worth a lot of money, so the charity wouldn't get much out of it, versus, you know, how much time is involved in actually fixing this machine up, just to have a machine that's potentially not very reliable, and potentially, you know, failure of parts that you can't replace anymore and things like that. So I'm really going to call it with this one, unfortunately, which is a little bit of a shame, because I really wanted to see this machine going, and I really wanted to demonstrate the little embroidery features. That's a bit of a disappointment, isn't it? Anyway, I thought I'd show you the cards that came with it, and there's this embroidery attachment that attaches to the machine. This here attaches to the machine here. I think, yeah, the free arm, I think it slots on this way here. You know, you slide this part onto the free arm, this bit here, and then you clamp it down with this. So basically you just put your material on top there and you hoop it in like that, and then that's attached to the machine, and this becomes an embroidery attachment as such, which is kind of cool. And I'm just a bit gutted that this is not working. You get these packs, monograms, this one, and in the pack you have you've got this card. It's like a ROM cartridge for a computer, or you know, like a gaming system or something like that. Kind of cool. Yeah, and that plugs in up the top here. Plugs in up here like that, and you push it down into the system like that. So, you know, a little bit like plugging a game cartridge into an old console. And it gives you all the, you know, the different patterns that are on this cartridge here. And not only that, but you've got this little overlay thing here, and that just sits in here, and you know, you've got your different patterns. So you hit the, geez, look at Alice, what she's done here. She's scratching up my hand something wicked. Sorry about that. So you start with the white thread, you know, it does the outline of the butterfly here, and then the red sort of fills in the wings here, and the green does the body and the antenna and things like that. So, you know, kind of cute. There's a snowman and some musical bits and pieces, a yacht, shell, leaves, pineapple, a couple of shapes, things like that. So yeah, it's quite cool actually. I'd love to explore this machine, but I just don't think it's going to be possible. You also get this little sheet here for aligning, you know, where you want your pattern to be. You know, line it up like with that. Pretty neat, pretty neat. Buttonholes, you know. There's your reverse, which we looked at, your stitch width and your stitch length. And then, you know, if you take this off, we've got our built-in stitches here. Single or twin needle operation. It's got a memory system. I haven't got the manual for it, but you know, just looking at that, you've got enter memory clear or memory recall, would it be? Memory recall and a clear. You know, you've got mirror image and the X and the Y axis, and not sure, is that double size maybe, something like that. I'm not familiar with the machine. That's what I surmise that these are for. So some of the other cartridges that come with it, got decorative borders, alphabet and numbers, menagerie, animals, and floral motifs. Well, there's Alice with her little mouse. She's going to carry her mouse around. Sorry if that's disappointing for people not to see this machine running, but yeah, as I say, you win some, you lose some. So yeah, hopefully next time we get something on the bench that works out more successfully. But in the meantime, I'll call it at that, and thank you very much for watching, and a special thank you to a new patron, Richard G. Thank you very much for your support. And thank you to all my patrons who support me on Patreon. I'll just give a special shout out to a lady who got hold of me directly via email. And I'll leave her anonymous at this stage, but she gave me a very generous donation, and you know, sort of almost like a back pay of, I won't tell you how much it is, but put it this way, it's like a few years of Patreon support, you know, if she was paying yeah, a few dollars a month or whatever. But yeah, thank you very much. You know who you are if you're watching. I greatly appreciate that. Hey you, come and say goodbye. Come here. And yep, a goodbye from Alice as well. She says, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.